Hey guys, Ike here from Mike'sOutdoors.com. Today I'm going to give you a few tips on hunting out of a tree stand, as far as shooting, keeping some lanes, and just general rules of hunting out of a tree stand. I've been hunting out of a tree stand for 20 years now. Ever since I was a kid, I've been hunting out of tree stands. I do a lot of other hunting, but primarily around here, tree stand hunting is the way to go. So there's a few rules that I follow every time I set up a stand, and a few things that are going to help you be more successful out of a tree stand. So the number one rule is to be comfortable. You got to be comfortable if you're going to sit there for 4 or 5 hours, and you really got to be comfortable if you're going to be sitting there for all day. And actually, that's probably not the most important rule. The most important rule probably is simply to be safe. I don't have a safety harness on right now because I'm only about 5 foot off the ground. But you want to be safe whenever you're 20 foot off the ground. A fall like that can kill you. If it doesn't kill you, it's going to at least leave you hurting real bad and maybe disabled for the rest of your life. So follow all the safety guidelines that these people set forth for your tree stand. Wear your safety harness, good stuff like that, and be careful when you're in there. Second thing you want to do is you want to make sure you've got good shooting lanes around your tree stand without that taking out too much foliage. You can see this is just a tree in my backyard. This is not one I'm going to be hunting out of. But you can see if I had a shot here, I got a branch in front of me. So, branches in front of me, I want to take off. I want to rely on what's behind me to help me blend in, break up my outline, and to help me basically break up my shape overall. So branches like this, I want to get rid of. Branches like this, I can keep, because they're far enough away that I can actually get away with pulling my bow and not get into them. You probably can't see that on the camera, but there's a limb right here. So you always want to have good access, good maneuverability for your bow without running into these branches. So that branch right there would have to come down. And having branches in front of you, to me, is not really that important. Like I said, branches behind you is the most important thing. So be comfortable, be safe, be comfortable, and have a good maneuverability for your bow. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to take into consideration is your angle, the angle of your shot. When you're hunting out of a tree stand, well, when you're hunting anywhere, anything, on the ground, out of a tree stand, or anything, what you want to take into consideration is not your point of impact on an animal, it's your exit and the angle that your arrow is actually going to be going through. So from a tree stand, you can see I got a target set over here. The angle of my bow is down, so the angle of my arrow is going to be down as well. So when I shoot into that target, my arrow is actually angled down now, and so you got to think about your exit hole whenever that comes into play. Especially the higher up you are and the closer you are to deer. If you have a deer directly underneath you, you got to think about that exit hole. If you got a deer that's maybe 5 yards out there and you're shooting like this, you got to think about that exit hole. So you want to shoot higher on a deer. It's not necessarily that your bow is going to shoot higher, or that your bow is going to shoot a little any different, but it may. But you're going to want to take into consideration your exit hole and make sure your exit hole is up high enough that you're not blowing through just one side of the deer. If you get at such a steep angle and you only hit one lung and then it comes through, chances are that deer might survive. One lung is something that most deer can overcome, especially if they're big, healthy animals. So you want to take into consideration that exit hole and try to get it up high enough that you'll catch maybe the top of the lung and the bottom of the other side of the lung if it's at a steep angle. The doe I shot last year was at maybe 10 yards, and that's what I did. I shot her basically right beside the spine. I was up at about 25 feet, and it went through, caught her lung, actually went through and caught the top of her heart, and it exited out the other side. So that's something that's very important, is to practice out of these stands. And like this, I got my target over here, and I could see my angle of my arrow is actually up quite a bit. So it's pretty important to get these tree stands up and practice out of them and get that to where you know the different yardages. And one of the things that a lot of people don't practice, and I have a really hard time with, so I practice it every year, is shots that are really close, straight down. I have a bad habit of those shots. One, I think they're so easy. I think they're just a chip shot that I don't focus like I'm supposed to. But the second thing is, it's a very difficult shot. You get a deer out there at about 30 or 40 yards from here. I got a spot out there, it's about 20. You can see my bow. My bow is pretty level. My bow's pretty out. The arrow's going to hit and the trajectory is going to be pretty flat. So if I get a deer here, I got to take that into consideration, and I'm almost shooting almost straight down on him, and if I shoot him here, I may not be able to get over to this side. So if you're going to take a close-up shot, you really have to watch where you're hitting, because you may only get one lung if you're going to be doing that. So you got to take that into consideration, that arrow is going to be going through, and you want to try to get it at the best angle that you possibly can. Now, a good quarter away shot, if I was going to be aiming here, I'm going to try to put it probably about right here above the shoulder, in between the shoulder and the spine on this side. Of course, back a little bit further. But try to get that thing to catch the top of the lung on this side, and maybe the heart if I can. And if I can't, maybe I can get at least a good exit hole down through the bottom. That's a really hard thing, is when you don't get an exit hole through the bottom on a deer that's really close, the blood, instead of pumping out the bottom, has to fill up the chest cavity and has to actually protrude from the top. And then it has to go through all that hair to drip off. I've shot a couple deer like that I made really good shots on them, got a lung and heart, and a deer only went about 40 yards or 50, but trailing them was just dang near impossible. So if you get one like that and you make a bad shot on it, and I've done it before, you're going to get out there and you're not going to have any blood trail to follow. Because all that stuff, I mean, it's got to fill up that entire chest cavity. And it's, like I said, that hair on its back is going to absorb a lot of that blood. And then it's got to run all the way down the hair on its sides to hit the ground. So that's a very, very tough shot and a very, very tough deer to trail. So that's just something that I want to throw out there for you guys to take into consideration. Like I said, one, safety is the number one rule. Comfort is very important. Have good, clear areas for your bow so you can maneuver your bow, and taking into consideration your shot angle. So those are very important things. Set up a tree stand like this in your backyard, climb up on your house, whatever you got to do to practice from an elevated position, and it will really help you out. And a little bit of practice off the ground is going to make you where you're ready for season. So that's just a tip from me here at IkesOutdoors.com, and I hope this helps you guys out. I really appreciate everyone watching these videos.
I like good times, good wine, good smoke, and a five-piece bed. And I can't help it.